Big changes at one of the largest churches in Dallas. T.D. Jakes announced today he is stepping down as senior pastor of the Potter's House.
But I wanted to introduce to you your pastors.
For over 40 years, Bishop T.D. Jakes was the unshakable force behind one of the world's most influential ministries. As the leader of the Potter's House, his voice echoed through pulpits and screens across the globe. So when he suddenly stepped down, it left millions shocked and searching for answers. Was it health? Scandal? Burnout? At 36, his daughter Sarah Jakes Roberts is finally breaking her silence. And what she reveals changes everything. It's not just a story of transition, but one of deep spiritual reckoning, family sacrifice, and a truth hidden behind the pulpit. You're not ready for this. And what she revealed turned everything upside down. Sarah spoke not with scandal or sensationalism, but with soul. Her words carried weight. She said her father's decision wasn't about failure, it was about wisdom. T.D. Jakes, she revealed, had spent years carrying a spiritual burden that few could understand. The pressure of leading a 30,000-member megachurch, the endless responsibilities, the emotional exhaustion of being on for decades. Sarah Jakes Roberts painted a deeply human portrait of her father, not just as the towering figure behind the pulpit, but as a man who had given so much of himself that he began to fade in the process. He poured into others year after year, counseling, preaching, leading, and shouldering the spiritual weight of thousands. But somewhere along the way, he realized he had neglected the parts of himself that mattered most: his peace, his family, and his connection to God on a personal level. In an emotional interview, Sarah revealed that Bishop Jakes didn't step down because he was tired or incapable. He stepped down because he was wise. She explained how the unrelenting pressure of leading such a vast ministry had started to affect his health, his state of mind, and his ability to connect with his own spiritual needs. It wasn't burnout, it was a reckoning. He chose to step back not because he was weak, Sarah said, but because he was wise. And in doing so, he made space. Space not just to heal, but to let the next generation rise. Sarah had been building her own powerful platform, connecting with a younger, more diverse audience, and becoming a respected voice in her own right. Her sermons resonated with authenticity, and many saw her as the natural successor. But behind the scenes, it wasn't that simple. As her name was floated for leadership, tensions emerged. Some senior members questioned whether she had the experience to carry such a massive ministry. Others were unsure about how her husband, Pastor Toure Roberts, would factor into the equation. Then came the twist. A senior elder proposed a co-leadership structure, Sarah and Toure sharing leadership of the Potter's House together. The proposal split opinions. Supporters saw it as a forward-thinking balance of tradition and innovation. Detractors feared it could create internal conflict, not just between the couple, but among the staff and congregation. Through it all, Bishop Jakes stayed quiet until the final leadership meeting. When he finally spoke, his message was clear. He supported the co-leadership model. It was time to pass the mantle, not to one leader, but to two, with faith that they could carry the vision forward together. Bishop T.D. Jakes' endorsement of a co-leadership model marked a monumental shift in the history of the Potter's House. With a heartfelt declaration, he told his congregation, "It's time for the next generation to lead." That next generation was represented by none other than his daughter, Sarah Jakes Roberts, and her husband, Pastor Toure Roberts. Together, they would take on the enormous responsibility of shepherding one of the most influential churches in the world. The announcement was made during a live Sunday service, streamed to viewers around the globe. The sanctuary was filled to capacity. Tension and anticipation buzzed in the air as Sarah stood beside her father, ready to step into a role that would change her life forever. T.D. Jakes delivered a deeply emotional speech, thanking the congregation for their decades of support and speaking about legacy, transition, and the importance of spiritual evolution. Then came the moment. Sarah Jakes Roberts was named lead pastor of the Potter's House. Her husband, Toure, would serve alongside her as co-lead pastor. The room erupted, some in applause, some in stunned silence. It was a bold move, a modern decision that signaled a new era. But not everyone was ready. Sarah addressed the moment with grace and poise, saying, "Leadership isn't about standing in front. It's about serving, listening, and obeying God's call. I'm not here to change the foundation. I'm here to build on it." On the surface, the transition seemed smooth. The energy in the church was hopeful, but behind the scenes, unrest was growing. In the weeks following the announcement, longtime pastors and senior leaders who had been pillars under Bishop Jakes began disappearing. No statements were issued, no explanations were given. Quiet exits, silent absences. Congregants started to talk. Had these leaders been asked to step down? Were they unwilling to accept Sarah and Touré's leadership? Was there a power struggle beneath the surface? Some whispered that Bishop Jakes had orchestrated their departure to protect his daughter's rise. Others believed he had emotionally stepped away, leaving Sarah and Touré to handle the storm on their own. Whatever the truth, the transition was proving to be far more complicated than anyone had anticipated. Tensions also began to simmer between Sarah and Touré. Though united publicly, insiders revealed their leadership styles often clashed. Sarah, raised under her father's traditional vision, valued legacy and continuity. Touré, known for innovation, leaned toward modern, progressive ideas. Their visions sometimes pulled in opposite directions. While both leaders had proven capable, it was clear this wasn't going to be easy. Sarah was seen by many as the rightful heir. Touré, meanwhile, had to navigate the perception of being a supporting act in a church with deep-rooted traditions. Despite the growing challenges, Sarah remained poised. In a deeply moving sermon, she addressed the internal struggles not with complaints, but with raw, transparent worship. She spoke about fear, exhaustion, gratitude, and faith. She thanked God for provision, for peace, for waking up each morning with strength. She said, "God, I thank you that I'm still standing. I thank you for the bread on the table, the roof over my head, and the friendships that are still intact. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I know who holds it." She spoke about not running from fear anymore, about embracing the moment, the calling, and the goodness of God that wasn't just chasing her, but already waiting for her. God's goodness isn't just behind us, she said. It's gone ahead of us, preparing rooms, preparing opportunities, and preparing peace. This wasn't just a pastor delivering a sermon. It was a daughter stepping into destiny, not by ambition, but by assignment. She reminded everyone that her father's exit wasn't a failure, it was obedience. That sometimes the greatest act of leadership is letting go. And yet the road ahead remains uncertain. The Potter's House stands at a crossroads. Some longtime members are still skeptical. Some younger congregants are more energized than ever. There are quiet resignations, lingering questions, and unresolved tensions. But there is also something else. Because if nothing else, this transition has shown that even the strongest leaders must sometimes bow out. Not because they're done, but because they've done enough. T.D. Jakes spent his life building something extraordinary, but perhaps his greatest act of leadership was recognizing when to pass the torch. And Sarah Jakes Roberts, she's not just holding it, she's running with it. If you were moved by this story and want to follow the next chapter of the Potter's House, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive. Drop a comment. Do you believe Sarah and Touré are the right choice to lead this ministry into the future? Or do you think the church should have taken a different path? Let us know. And as always, thanks for watching.